This ABC15 Flash Briefing is sponsored by Sanderson Ford. All roads lead to Sanderson Ford.
Hello, I'm Megan Thompson with your top stories from ABC15 Arizona. We begin with a deadly shooting in Gilbert.
When the subject came out of his vehicle, he came upon officers, and he was armed with a gun, a handgun, and a rifle, and he was wearing a ballistic vest.
Right now, an investigation is underway after a man was shot and killed by Gilbert police Sunday. Officers telling us they were called after a man was spotted sitting in his car with a gun. When they arrived, we're told the man got out of his car, approaching officers with two guns while wearing that ballistic vest. Police have not said how many shots were fired or whether the man shot at officers. The incident is still under investigation. Thousands of people in Washington, D.C. and right here in Phoenix marching over women's reproductive rights. Both sides of the issue were present. Abortion rights advocates plan to speak out today in Phoenix on what would have been the 51st anniversary of Roe versus Wade. Honoring a trailblazer, today several of Arizona's representatives will be urging other members of Congress to pass a resolution that would put a statue of Sandra Day O'Connor in the U.S. Capitol building. The former Supreme Court justice died here in the Valley on December 1st at the age of 93. With house values surging during the pandemic, homeowners are paying more in property taxes as a result. Consumer reporter John Matarese is looking at the good, the bad, and the unexpected so that you don't waste your money.
If your property taxes have skyrocketed the past few years, you're not alone. These tax hikes can be really hard to budget for, especially if they catch you off guard. But there are some things you can do.
Walt Ben checks his mailbox every day.
Nope, not here yet.
Knowing a big property tax bill is coming soon. Like many homeowners, he tracked down his new property valuation online.
I found it, and it's amazing.
And was shocked by the number.
And what's the percentage?
27, a little over about 28% right now.
He'll now have to pay $600 more in property taxes.
30%? Now, did they just think people weren't going to notice?
Home appreciation like Walt is experiencing is happening nationwide, up almost 5% in the last year, according to S&P CoreLogic's latest home price index. If you look at the last 3 years, that appreciation climbs to almost 11%.
One of the side effects of that is that you end up with higher property taxes.
Jacob Channel is a senior economist for LendingTree. He says the dramatic surge started during the pandemic and can be a tough pill to swallow for many homeowners.
You do want to budget accordingly.
But there's a silver lining if you plan to sell in the future.
Rising real estate taxes means that the value of your property is also increasing.
If you think your valuation isn't right,
you can argue. In some cases that can work. Do keep in mind, though, that there's no guarantee.
Remember, with so many different factors in place,
even people in the same city can pay vastly different amounts.
Walt is considering an appeal.
It pinches me a lot with everything going on in the country. Inflation, shrinkflation, greedflation, whatever you want to call it. It stinks.
So you don't waste your money. I'm John Matarese.
Uplifting Arizona with the 4th annual Skating for Layton event. The fundraiser held by the Arizona Coyotes aims to make it easier for young girls to play hockey, all while honoring their own 9-year-old Coyotes fan, Layton Arcado, who passed away in 2020 from stage 4 cancer.
Today we get to celebrate her. All of her friends from all aspects of her life get to come together. She would just be over the moon to see everybody here.
Yeah, I think that she would be out here doing every one of these interviews, and we would be standing right where you are watching.
Yeah.
Layton is the only non-player or media member inducted into the Coyotes Ring of Honor.
Hi there, I'm Nohelani Graff with that most accurate forecast. We are tracking the next round of rain and snow moving into our state here in the valley and across central Arizona, likely to hold off the rain until later this afternoon and more into the evening hours. But once it gets going, we're looking at about a quarter to a half inch of rain here in the valley, and in northern Arizona, 1 to 3 inches of snow for the Flagstaff area and surrounding areas. Here in the valley, we're also going to have a foggy start to the morning. Then that clears. We're dry for much of the day, but cooler in the 60s before that next round of rain moves in. More 60s across southern and western Arizona today, 40s for the central portion of the state, 30s and 40s north of the rim, so a notably cooler day. Once that rain gets started here in the valley this evening, it's going to take us through Tuesday, so it will be a soggy afternoon on Tuesday, finally starting to dry out by Wednesday, and then the 70s are back in the valley by the weekend, and will start to dry out in the high country by Friday.
For the latest headlines, weather, and traffic, head on over to ABC15.com or download the free ABC15 mobile app.
This ABC15 Flash Briefing is sponsored by Sanders & Ford. All roads lead to Sanders & Ford.